We thought that they were ours.
Dan Martinez is an historian at the Arizona Memorial. On the morning of December 7, 1941, his grandfather was finishing his night shift.
He was walking to his car when the first torpedo planes roared right overhead about 150 feet in altitude. At first he thought it was just a mock battle or drill.
It was no drill. At 7:55 that Sunday morning, the clock began to tick away the final minutes of the battleship era. The great warships were all there, awaiting Admiral's inspection. For the skilled Japanese pilots who had long practiced for this secret mission, the American battleships, moored so tightly in a row, were a textbook target to which they brought new and terrible weapons of war.
The development of a shallow water torpedo was essential to the success of the attack. The Japanese knew that Pearl Harbor was only 45 feet deep.
American commanders felt secure in Pearl Harbor. They were sure torpedoes required a depth of 100 feet before they could be effective. But they were wrong.
We just took torpedo after torpedo, and come to find out we had actually 9 torpedoes in us.
Equally destructive was the armor-piercing bomb dropped from an altitude of 10,000 feet.
The point of this bomb, with its delayed action fuse, was meant to penetrate inside the ship, then explode.
We were looking toward the Arizona when this whistle come by. It sounded like a freight train, and it landed just forward of the #1 gun turret. I thought that the battleship was most invincible. Nothing can hurt it. 16 inches of armor plating? Ain't nothing gonna go through that.
The Arizona foundered in 9 minutes and burned for 2.5 days. $1,177 men lost their lives on the battleship Arizona that morning. With the death of the Arizona, it seemed, died the battleship itself. For half a century, the universal symbol of naval pride and power. The Americans were stunned by the daring of the Japanese.
I think there was an arrogance on the part of America to understand that the Japanese were capable of these things. Mostly when you read newspapers or magazines of the period, you got the impression that the Japanese were inferior.
Japanese planning was anything but inferior. They had set a secret route across the treacherous northern Pacific and had sent the liner Tayumaru in advance to be certain no one sailed up there. In a bold effort, they raced toward Pearl Harbor, knowing that they could succeed.
I thought we had the most powerful Navy in the world. What happened?
The sunken Arizona was thought by many to symbolize the end of an era. Today, there are no battleships on Battleship Row. Only the symbols and memories of those once great warships and of the war itself linger on. The Japanese have been planning their attack for over a year. Their war plan had been secretly but actively in operation since the fall of 1941. It included the conquest of Guam, Wake Island, Hong Kong, the Philippines, and Malaya. It began with their surprise attack on the Americans. On December 8, just one day after the fateful and tragic attack at Pearl Harbor at the British Admiralty in London, the leadership of the Royal Navy met to debate the future deployment of its 2 warships. Prince of Wales and Repulse, Winston Churchill's personal choice to protect the far-flung reaches of the British Empire. It was the Prince of Wales that just 4 months earlier carried Churchill across the Atlantic for his historic face-to-face meeting with the American president. Symbolically, under the guns of the British battleship, they had signed the Atlantic Charter. Now in the Pacific, the Prince of Wales and Repulse are the lone symbols of Britain's resolve. The question, should these two now be rushed to Pearl Harbor? The debate continues throughout December 9. At day's end, they adjourn. The decision will be taken tomorrow, December 10, 1941. But off the coast of Malaya, it already is tomorrow. As Admiralty officials sleep in London, Repulse and Prince of Wales search the sea for a Japanese landing force and are spotted from the air. As at Pearl Harbor 48 hours earlier, the combination of high-level bombers and low-flying torpedo planes is devastating. It will be the first time that aircraft will sink a battleship underway at sea. 840 British seamen lose their lives when the Prince of Wales and Repulse are both sunk. Those who had been debating the future of the two battleships awake to hear the terrible news. British naval historian Eric Grove.
The Prince of Wales and Repulse was very much Churchill's own miscalculation. He thought that a small, fast squadron of capital ships based in Singapore would act as a very potent deterrent to a country that he thought of as effectively a bunch of rather crude yellow men who hadn't really grasped Western technology. Nothing could have been further from the truth. The loss of the Prince of Wales and the Repulse was a tremendous blow to British prestige, self-image, not just Britain itself, the entire empire.
Reeling from the attack on Pearl Harbor and virtually alone in the Pacific, the United States strikes back. Her two Pearl Harbor-based aircraft carriers were at sea during the attack on December 7,